Well, hello everyone. Oh, it's been a minute. Well, see, I want to say it was not long after my last video. I think it was the resolution about parking lot payments. I had something random come across my way. I was helping somebody with some printers across town, and on the way back, we came by the real museum, and I can't show it in frame, but I'm literally touching it right now. It's a Olivetti M24, sometimes in the States known as a AT&T PC6300, and it's an old computer I'm working on restoring because I'm quite fond of it. But there's actually I won't say practical purpose, but there is a much more useful purpose that I can do with it, where especially in the drafting of documents, a lot like what we're going to see today. But anyway, so I won't have a second screen to really look after here, so here's my primary display. And then I totally forgot. I've totally forgot to start making notes about this, and in a certain way. So you are going to see me live on camera. Now, while I'm doing that though, I'll show off this thing. This thing is hooked up to the thing just right out of frame, and also into my second display over here, so that's why I can't use it. I can't be bothered to. Let's see. Let's see. I'll use some previous notes and then just copy some over into a new. But today, as the video title is likely to reflect, I'm doing the packets finally for the 2026 Idaho Republican Convention. This would have been done days ago, but things happened, and then that kind of pushed off the publishing of the packets to everyone else other than the PC, well, other than the delegates. So it's just sort of thing that got delayed, got published. Shout out to Brian Ullman, who took up the mantle of doing all of that stuff. Now, I am going to say, if you are watching this video, you need to pay attention to what I am about to say. It is going to be very important, especially if you try to make issue of this video in any way to anyone, least of all my employer. Okay, so all opinions and views expressed in this video are my own and not of my employer, any other employees of my employer, or anyone duly authorized to speak on behalf of my employer. Now, if you had some sort of other idea, or you're trying to push some sort of other idea, go to hell. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't have been that mean. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up. I named it wrong, but you know what? In the transition scenes here, but you know what? I'm just gonna do this anyway. This is I'm doing the biggest one first so that I can just work my way to the end of this and at least get some purchase on my flailing, as it were. Okay, so this one is the Resolutions Committee packet. Let's see if I can resize this window without it totally jacking up. Well, oh no. Okay, see, doing it live. See, can you tell I haven't done this in, what's it, 5 months now? Okay, just a little more over. Okay, you know what? That's just going to have to do. So the Resolutions Committee packet looks like this. And I do happen to know that they were printing these on the office printer this morning. So yeah, this is pretty much what the packet is going to be. It looks like it, and we have a bunch of people in here. Some good to be around. You know, Ryan Davidson, good friend. Miguel De Luna, good dude. This guy sucks. Don't, don't yeah. Don't talk to that guy. Let's see. Let's see. Ron Menda. Oh, that's right. He's a representative still. I think still. And then oh, Jeff Russell's in this one. That's cool. That's good. So yeah, I'm on the resolutions committee. If you know if it's not already. So okay, we've got a interesting balance of people in here, and of course the chair is going to be Scott Herndon, Vice Chair Jim Smith. Oh, I didn't know that. Whatever. Secretary Elena Quinn, parliamentarian. They saved the good one for resolutions. Maybe they might have needed him in in another one, but oh, whatever. So, table of contents here. Let's see what's going on with this. 2026-01 resolution calling for partisan municipal elections in Idaho. I remember this one being in the convention as early as 2018. You know, the one in Pocatello. In fact, it was Ryan Davidson who got that one through. This one sounds really familiar. 2026-02, a resolution against unjustly withholding bills. I'm bringing that one back. It's not quite the same resolution, but I did do a very, very similar one back in Twin Falls. So we're doing oh no, it's down there. So we're doing that again. Guess what it's about? I had a bunch of jackals, imps, and snakes bring that one down last time. We'll see what happens this time. Certain people are likely to not be in the room now. 2026-03, a resolution in support of correcting immediate past chairman. Oh, oh man, I'm probably going to get tased by my coworkers for this one. But it's a thing that needs to be out there, especially in front of a convention, especially when it is absolutely a convention's business of who gets to be chairman. And who else is on the executive committee? I mean, come on. I'm not wrong. Y'all know I'm not wrong. So yeah, that one's, if you haven't gathered, that one's also mine. There's a 2026-04 resolution to remedy constitutional shortcomings of a. Okay, I remember seeing this one in passing at the office, but I don't remember what this is. So, as a bare minimum, we're going to hear it out. But if we're dealing something, you know, if we're dealing with the unconstitutionality of something, of course, give it its due time. 2026-05, Idaho Republican Party resolution urging Congress to pass the Save America Act. Well, I'm already a hard agree if that's really what if that's really what the resolution is. 2026-06, opposing statutory regulatory identification of private entities country. This is the vaccine thing, isn't it? Well, we'll hear it out, of course. However, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of opposition, except for a certain corner of the state. But we'll get there when we get there. 2026-07, opposition to rescheduling and normalization of marijuana use. I think I know who did this one, and I'm not going to make a comment on that. But I don't hate it. I don't hate the title. I'll just put it that way. 2026-08, extend start home rights as, you know, to county residents. I'm not sure what they're referring to there. We'll have to read that. 2026-09 Family Values Month. Traditional family. Are they getting rid of Pride Month? If so, I'm looking forward to this resolution. That I want to see who argues against, because sometimes resolution I don't think. Well, I guess I kind of did it with one of mine, but not really. But sometimes when you write a resolution, you're not writing it to pass it. You're writing it to see who argues against and who reacts. Let's see. Oh, that's behind. It's below the fold anyway. There we are. Okay. 2026-10 resolution regarding threat of New World screwworm. Oh, that's a relatively recent thing. Yeah, it is. It's affecting some things, including like cattle and whatnot. So, well, let's so we'll reach that bridge when we come to it. Resolution supporting Israel's. Okay, I think it's the same person as one of the other resolutions I've already referenced here. We'll see how it goes, though. Sometimes resolutions aren't in a vacuum, though. He needs to be aware of that. Resolution, okay, 2026-12, resolution regarding opposing so-called initiative. Okay, so this is the anti-abortion stuff. Okay, so I'm already a tentative agree on that. Killing children should, like, what the heck are we really doing as a society if that's a thing on the regular? But anyway, 2026-13. Resolution in support of Idaho Senate Concurrent Resolution 120. I can't remember what that one is. Well, let's see what's going on with that. 2026-14, resolution regarding local control of the placement of wireless facilities. Oh, this is the 5G thing. I wonder if David DeHaas is involved in this one. Okay. Well, 2026-15, resolution requiring voter approval of the conveyance or transfer of public assets. This is the GBAD thing, isn't it? Well, we'll have a look. 2026-16, a resolution calling for election integrity. Well, that should sail through resolutions. It should absolutely sail through. 2026-17, we're prohibiting candidates from filing for public office with certain criminal background. What are they on about? I bet this is some local issue that's bubbling up to statewide. I bet that's it. Resolution 2026-18, resolution for electing precinct committeemen via Republican Party caucus. Well, there's pluses and minuses to that. Let's see how the resolution actually lays that out, though, because the minuses might be dealt with for all I know. 2026-19, resolution to caucus for in general election. I don't hate the idea. The Idaho Republican Party should absolutely be in control of, who it associates with. 2026-20, expansion of the homeowner's property tax exemption. Well, I like lower taxes, but I like no taxes better. Taxation is extortion, as it were. 2026-21, approval of new taxing districts. Wonder what they're on about. Title 2026-22, precinct committeeman responsibilities. This is either something really good or really bad, because some corners of the state are cool, about what the PCs are actually supposed to be, and some corners have very, very warped ideas about it. So we'll see what goes on there. 2026-23, resolution affirming the sovereign authority of the state over local government. This is about the flag thing, isn't it? Well, okay. Well, let's start. Okay, so 2026-01 is currently 1505 in the video. Oh, I was blabbing on for that long. Okay, 1505 in the video. 2026-01, title, Resolution calling for partisan municipal elections in Idaho. Submitted by Sebastian D. Griffin out of LD12 to be presented by him. Whereas municipal governments exercise significant authority over the daily lives of Idaho citizens, including the authority of taxation, budgets, public safety, land use, zoning, growth, and, it goes on. Whereas city councils and mayors, actually here, I'm going to see if I can do this another way. Okay, cool. So it's roughly, the screen is now roughly what is in the video now. So city councils and mayor regularly make decisions that reflecting competing philosophies of government. Okay, yeah, they're explicitly how was it put in I think it was Finland or Sweden. I think it was Sweden. Yes, there absolutely is a feminist way to clear the clear the roads of snow. There is a feminist way of collecting trash, and they tried it, made a whole lot of things in their country not function. So it's kind of what they're talking about right there is basically that, and so it's kind of the idea that got this kind of resolution passed back in Pocatello. That thing I already mentioned. City councils and proper fiscal government. Yeah, okay. Whereas Idaho voters are entitled to clear and honest information about the political philosophy. Not wrong. But making it partisan is not the only roadblock to that. Because then the partisan affiliation has to mean something. In order for the R to mean something, then a lot of the other people who also have the R have to have a say. So anyway, but I don't mean to tear them down though. Whereas nonpartisan municipal elections do not remove ideology from local government. That is true because there's a feminist way to clear the snow. But too often obscure the beliefs, affiliations, and okay, yeah, that is absolutely a thing right there. Whereas Idaho already conducts partisan elections for county offices and a bunch of other who likewise oversee blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay. So far you're preaching to the choir, but that may be the point of this thing. Let's see. There is no principled reason to provide party transparency to voters in county elections while denying the same transparency. Okay, see, this should basically be the entire resolution right there. This should be almost the entire resolution. They've put a lot more words in this, but that is basically it. And I heartily agree. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to write down. Whereas partisan municipal elections would improve transparency, accountability. Okay, not wrong. Plus, it's done in a lot of places, like a lot. Whereas Idaho's next major municipal election cycle will occur in November 2027, making timely legislative action necessary. Clerks, blah 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 blah. Yeah, okay, you're not wrong. Now therefore be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party calls on the Idaho legislature to amend the law to require elections for mayor, city council to be conducted as partisan elections. Okay, don't hate it. And be it further resolved that such legislation should provide for a party nomination of municipal candidates, party affiliation to appear on the ballot, and a clear process for independent or unaffiliated candidates consistent with Idaho election law. Okay, so you know what? Let in the independents, let in the unaffiliateds. Okay. I'm an American. I don't have a problem with that. Just got to be honest. Be it further resolved that the Idaho legislature should enact these. Okay. Both these resolve clauses do not have who is acting, who is resolving to do the thing. It should say something like be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party supports such legislation, blah, blah, blah. Or this one, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party encourages the Idaho legislature to blah, 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 blah. But that's only a minor thing, and I'm really hoping that they don't actually bring that up in there, because that kind of debate can needlessly extend the meeting. Because people get really fanatic about this. And I mean, it would be a good thing if they were paying attention to detail, but they're using it as a cudgel. At least some people do. Time for implementation before the November 2027 election. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be transmitted to all of those people. Okay, so what's it? I heartily, as a native Boisean of 41 years, I heartily agree. I'll say honest truth. As it 2026-01 goes, as a native Boisean of 41 years, I heartily agree. So we're going to move on to 2026-02. All right, and we're 2201 in the video. All right, now let's read my own dang resolution. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this one ever since Guthrie started acting a fool in the Senate. I'll put it that way. As a lifelong Republican, I think I'm entitled to say that. Regardless of who my employer is. Guthrie started acting a fool. Started doing the whole Tom Lurcher thing. That's not as much of a wrestling. Anyway, 2026-02, a title, a resolution against unjustly withholding bills, submitted by Matthew K. Jensen. Somehow my middle initial confused somebody sending out a mailer that arrived this morning. Shouldn't have, especially with anyone competently trying to deduplicate the names on a mailing list. Full. But to be presented by me, because this guy. Whereas, there is a process that every piece of legislation is supposed to follow in the Idaho State House. And whereas, generally such legislation is by both purpose and implementation supposed to be at the will of the people. And whereas, without ascribing motive, it absolutely can be said that procedure has been used to reject or ignore the will of Idahoan voters. And whereas, one of the ways that this happens is committee chairmen holding legislation in their drawers. Of course, sometimes it's not an actual drawer, but everyone knows what I mean there. In drawers, instead of letting a more appropriate process take place. And whereas, attempts to rectify the situation have not only been met with procedural and curmudgeon resistance, but with scorn as well. I brought that phrase back. Someone tried to make an issue out of it in Twin Falls, and while the resolution did in and of itself fail, it didn't fail because of that. But anyway, but met with procedural and curmudgeon resistance, but with scorn as well. Whereas, in the history of this country, very few good things happen after the people are ignored. Therefore, be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party implores the Idaho legislation to refrain from using procedure to silence such legislation, and therefore be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party asks legislators to develop and implement a joint rule of the legislature to prevent drawing. And Therefore, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party instructs and enjoins its legislative liaisons through the Idaho Republican State Chairman to report back the issues mentioned in this resolution at the next possible IDGOP State Central Committee meeting, as per Article 1, Section 23 of the state rules, because I had to break out the rule stuff because, Matt Jensen's just obsessed with rules. That's a problem. There are many things to criticize me about. Being obsessed with rules is just... So, with this, of course, I'm going to say, this is 2026-02. I say, of course I agree. Now, of course, it's probably going to be the same for the next one. So, 2026-03. It's about 26 minutes or so, 26:01 in the video, and I'm pasting in the same thing. (2026-03) Title: A resolution in support of correcting immediate past chairman misinterpretations. Okay, now it is going to be extremely obvious by this one what side of a certain argument I'm on and who I'm going to be voting for as chair. Okay? I don't think that's a secret. Shouldn't be a secret. Anyone fooling themselves into thinking that was ever a secret or should be a secret, go screw yourselves. But anyway, whereas the Idaho Republican Party State Rules is a document that governs the State Central Committee and the Idaho Republican Party as a whole. See, I'm building my case here. Whereas that document has been revised over time and its continued revision happens at roughly 6, 12, and 18 months after each state convention. Okay, I'm still building the case here. Whereas, as a consequence of the revision schedule, on top of the gradually rotating group of people who are involved in the party, sometimes the original meaning or intent of a rule is either forgotten or reinterpreted into something else. And this is not the only issue that this is happening with, but it's the effects of this are getting worse. I'll just put it that way. Whereas, as a consequence of this revision schedule, I totally already read that part. Whereas one of the many examples of this is Article 2, Section 2 of the state rules, which defines the members of the State Executive Committee, including voting and non-voting members. And this next part is what I'm getting at. It's pointing at a very specific incident that happened, roughly a year ago now, maybe a little less than a year ago now. And I think Dorothy would prefer that I not speak directly to that incident, but there were some really effed up things about that situation. One of them is, of course, I'm about to reference here. Whereas the original meaning of paragraph 5, and it's not an actual paragraph, it's literally just a handful of words. However, in the indexing key at the bottom of the entire document, it's like page 78 or 82 or something, it references a line inside of a subsection like that as a paragraph. So, the original meaning of paragraph 5 in the ex officio non-voting subsection has been lost to time. Now, that's not... I've had a little bit more information on since authoring that particular line on that, but it's also... This is still true. This part is still true. But it has been lost to time, but until recently had always been implied to mean whoever won the election of the state chairman most previously before the last state convention. So say it's a month after a convention. The last convention is literally the one you had before. Okay? Now, after, and of course, immediate past chairman was supposed to mean whoever won the most recent chairman election before that convention, whether it was a month before or a year before. Okay? Or literally 17 months before. In one case that I was able to find about. It's always meant to be that. So like if someone gets elected to chair, and then immediately in the next convention, you're overwhelming. You run again, but you're overwhelmingly voted out by quite a large margin. Well, then you're the immediate past chairman. But then this person who was elected, they get elected again. That was never supposed to be you still being immediate past chairman. That was never supposed to be the case, as I'm about to mention. Whereas competing misinterpretation, I'm getting ahead of myself there. Whereas competing reinterpretations of this rule have created unnecessary infighting, as the rule was never supposed to reflect a previous chairman who was elected nearly 6 years prior and rejected in favor of another chairman 4 years prior, which is widely regarded as a bad faith interpretation. I'm, of course, talking about Tom Luna. Tom Luna was absolutely rejected from being chairman again in Twin Falls, and for good reason. There were a few things that led up to that caused that. But he's still considered the immediate past chairman somehow? No. It was never supposed to be that. That is inappropriate at best. But I'll continue. Whereas anyone with sufficient involvement in the Idaho Republican Party will know that this infighting over such a bad faith interpretation will happen again given enough time. I'm trying to stop a future argument here. Also, correct a previous misinterpretation, of course, but I'm leaning more towards the future here, to be quite honest. There isn't supposed to be somebody several years out from ever being a chairman still in. Institutional memory is, of course, supposed to still be a thing, but not like that. Not like that. Whereas, it is entirely inappropriate to let this situation remain. Whereas both the election of officers and the interpretations of rules and policies governing them are absolutely the purview and business of the State Convention of the Idaho Republican Party as per Idaho Code 34707. Go and look it up. I'm not wrong, especially the last couple lines or something. I'm not wrong. Go ahead and look it up. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party, gathered in a state convention in Meridian, hereby demands, as per the legally recognized power in Idaho Code 34707, that all further interpretations of that exact reference we've already been over, to mean the individual who most recently completed a term as state chairman immediately prior to the current state chairman taking office. So sometimes that means two different people. Sometimes that's the same. Now, I bet somebody's going to try to make an issue of a person holding two different positions is not good. Well, actually, that happens all the time, even in the upper levels of the state executive committee. And that's not going to be a problem. It never was a problem because of two things. One, we always had the one man, one vote rule, as I try to pick up something I knocked off of my desk. And two, the ex officio status is non-voting anyway. So there is no vote merging to be had anyway. Anyone who told you otherwise is being dishonest. I'll straight up say it like that too. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party asks its appropriate officers and members to draft amendments to the state rules to better reflect this meaning and to properly submit and advance these amendments at the appropriate time. So, I'm not doing an end run to make a new rule. One, I'm just trying to get it interpreted properly. And two, have something at a more appropriate time that will fix this permanently. And therefore be it finally resolved that the Idaho Republican State Convention, as per the legally recognized power in Idaho Code 34707, directs the state party headquarters to ensure that all members of the state executive committee voting in ex officio receive a printed copy of this resolution so that they are properly informed. Because there was a little tiny bit of that incident about a year ago talking about notice, where people absolutely did receive notice, but they pretended that they didn't. Yeah, that happened. Guess who? I'm not going to say, but you might be able to figure it out. So yeah, this part is literally just saying, okay, whoever is working at the state party headquarters after this is passed, just send this resolution to the appropriate people. That's literally all I'm saying. Now, of course, I already wrote in my notes here, of course I agree, because I wrote the damn thing. We're gonna continue on to Resolution 2026-04. So 2026-04. And we are 3609 in the video. All right, now what do we have? Resolution 2026-04, resolution to remedy constitutional shortcomings of Idaho Code 59907. Okay, so it's submitted by Anna Price of Owyhee County to be presented by Walt Holton of Owyhee County. Okay, so I think these are friends of friends, I think. I don't get a whole lot of chances to go out to Owyhee County these days, but yeah, it's probably okay. Let's see. Whereas Article 5, Section 18 of the Idaho Constitution specifies that a prosecuting attorney shall be elected for each organized county by the qualified electors of such county, and specifies that the required qualifications shall be a practicing attorney at law and a resident elector of the county for which he is elected. Okay. Oh, I think I know what this is. Hold on. I need to fidget for a moment, or else I'm going to say stuff I'm not supposed to repeat. Okay. I think I know what this came from. Whereas Article 5, Section 19 specifies that all vacancies occurring in the offices provided for by this article of the Constitution shall be filled as provided by law. Okay, so you're not going to fill it out some other way. No, you're going to do whatever the law says. Law was made later by the legislature and is maintained thereby. Okay. Whereas Idaho Code 59906 provides the procedure for filling vacancies in county offices, where includes Office of Prosecuting Attorney. You're not wrong. This then points to certain parts of the party rules. Whereas Idaho Code 59907 was added in 1988 to allow the Board of County Commissioners to fill a prosecuting attorney vacancy by appointing and or contacting with a non-resident attorney to perform the duties of the prosecutor for the balance of the unexpired term or a short period when there is no resident attorney in the county willing or qualified. I think it's and or at that point, but anyway, to fill the vacancy. Oh, okay. I think I know where their problem is now. Whereas Idaho Code 59907 was amended in 1996 and in 2006, allowing the commissioners to expand their ability to appoint and or contract with non-resident attorney when there's no willing blah 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 blah, or to when there are three or fewer resident attorneys willing or qualified to. Okay. They show what the change was and what it came from. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party believes that 59907, as currently written, violates. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I see where you're coming from there. Article 5, Section 18 of the Idaho Constitution, by allowing the residency requirement to be ignored when there are 3, 2, or even 1 willing qualified resident. Okay. I see where the want of the party would be here. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party believes that the Idaho Constitution is is the supreme law of the state. It is, and should not be effectively amended, altered, or okay. You can't make this rule you thought you could make because the Constitution. Okay. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party believes that the Idaho Constitution is the supreme, should not. They pasted that in there twice, didn't they? Either way, I'm not gonna be down on them for that. Okay, therefore, the Idaho Republican Party requests that the legislature remedy the constitutional conflict in this law. I see where they're coming from, and I pass. Okay, you know what? Okay, no, I'm just gonna say I agree. Okay, so that's going to be my entire reaction to that. Is 2026-04 at 3609 in the video. It says, I see where they're coming from and I agree. All right, so time to move on to the next one. See, what do we got? 2026-05. 05. We are 4130 in the video. Jeez, I need to pick up the pace on this. Okay. I think I'm going to cut it off at an hour and a half. And then just continue with the remainder at 90-minute intervals, if need be. Okay, so 2026-05, title of the Idaho Republican Party resolution urging Congress to pass the Save America Act, coming from Tammy Nichols. Okay. I see the angle and everything that this is coming from, and I already agree. To be presented by Tammy Nichols, of course. Whereas free, fair, and secure elections are the foundation of a constitutional republic. Okay, building your case so far. Whereas the right to vote is one of the most sacred rights of American citizens and must be protected from fraud, abuse, and unlawful influence. Okay, continuing to build your case here. Whereas the American people deserve full confidence that federal elections are conducted lawfully, transparently, and with strong safeguards to ensure that only eligible United States citizens are voting in federal elections. Okay. Not wrong there. Definitely not wrong there. Whereas the failure to enforce meaningful election integrity measures weakens the public trust and threatens the legitimacy of our electoral system. This has already happened. Just put it that way. I think most everybody knows what I'm talking about. Whereas the Save America Act strengthens the election and security through blah blah. Okay, yep. Okay, there's a whole lot of preaching to the choir here, I think. Whereas the federal government has a duty to protect the rights of American citizens and ensure that elections are not diluted by unlawful voting, weakened by reckless election policies, or manipulated through insecure election practices. And I think she's going to bring up some examples, especially some California stuff. That would be my guess. Whereas Idaho has consistently supported strong election integrity laws and the principle that elections should be decided only by legal votes cast by eligible citizens. Okay. This is starting to become a little repetitive, to be quite honest with you, Tammy. When the federal government fails to fulfill its constitutional responsibilities to protect the integrity of federal elections, the states have both the right and duty to call upon Congress to act. Yep, that's a very American thing. Okay. Whereas Congress has failed to take sufficient action to secure federal elections to restore confidence and making it necessary for states and the people to demand immediate action to protect the... Okay. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party fully supports the passage of the Save America Act by the United States Congress. Okay. Be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party calls upon Idaho's congressional delegation to aggressively support... Okay. Now, this is quite all right if you say you support. However, that support must actually be evident. It must actually be a thing. It must actually happen. Just pointing that out there, because not all of Idaho's delegation has acted that way. I'll just put it that way. The views expressed by me are not that of my employer, or however the heck it says. My views are my own. Just put it that way. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party opposes any federal action, policy, or program that weakens voter identification requirements, permits non-citizen voting, undermines ballot security, or interferes with the state's constitutional authority to administer elections. And that is a very solid thing. The states are supposed to be administering the elections, not the federal. No, it's the states themselves that are supposed to be administering elections. That is literally written into the Constitution. Therefore, be it further resolved that the copies of the resolution shall be removed. Okay, cool. Yeah, she just wants it to send it to the right people. Okay, so hard agree. Although there was a lot of choir preaching, as it were, in that one. But you know what? So 2026-006. What do we got on the next one here? 2026-06, opposing statutory regulatory indemnification of private entities, contractors, or researchers operating in Idaho. This is either the Roundup thing or the vaccine thing. Let's see what they got. It's submitted by Gresham Buma, LD6. Oh, I know some people up there. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party stands for limited government, personal accountability, and the protection of life, liberty, and property for everyday Idahoan. I think they mean the everyday Idahoan, but I don't know if are you referencing that in the singular? That's kind of weird how that. Okay. Anyway. Whereas certain private businesses and industries, including but not limited to pharmaceutical companies, ribonucleic acid technology developers, pesticide manufacturers, contractors. Okay, so it's touching all of those things that I was thinking. All right, contractors, research institutions sought indemnification or legal immunity for their products, services, or activities, thereby shifting the burden of risk from corporations to the public. Yeah, it ain't right. Whereas Idaho Code, not reading that are already prohibit indemnification. Oh, I don't like that word. In specific sectors, construction and motor carrier contracts, affirming the principle that parties should not be shielded from liability for their own negligence. Say it louder for the kids in the back. Anyway, whereas indemnification undermines the free market by removing incentives for safety, honesty, and responsibility, and denies Idahoans equal access to legal resource when harmed. Oh, you're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. Whereas shielding private actors from liability erodes public trust, distorts enterprise, and incentives negligence by removing consequences for harm. Okay, these two whereas clauses are basically the same thing. Brevity is the soul of wit. Just saying. Whereas it strikes at the roots of our republic and its constitution when one co-equal branch neutralizes the functioning of another, which identification... Okay. You wrote that with AI, didn't you? Oh. Okay, anyway, moving on. Therefore, be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party urges the Idaho State Legislature to enact legislation prohibiting statutory or regulatory indemnification of private entities, contractors, or the... Okay. Same sequence of words as before. Be it resolved that such legislation applies regardless of entity's corporate structure, funding source, or contractual relations with them. Okay. There's more. Be it further resolved that our federal legislators be informed that the Idaho Republican Party opposes any federal legislation granting indemnification. Well, putting party support behind that might actually do that. Okay. Sometimes you need to think about that angle of whether a party support behind something would actually do anything. This case, it probably would. be it finally resolved that Idaho reaffirm its commitment to equal legal standing for all citizens, ensuring that no private actor operating in the state is shielded from accountability for. Okay. And now my phone is bothering me. My phone wants me to go to bed. I still got hours of work to do. Anyway. Oh, yeah? I'm pretty sure AI wrote this. I don't like putting any kind of approval on AI-generated content in this context. But I'm going to say passive agree. I don't even remember when this was. So I'm just going to say it was somewhere around 55 minutes, maybe. I don't hate the message. However, this is bordering on an inappropriate use of AI. Just saying. Okay, 2026-07. And we are 51:17 in the... No, the last one must have been 45 minutes in. So now this is 51:25 in the video. And what do we got? Title is up opposition to rescheduling and normalization of marijuana use. Okay. Paul Dye out of Madison County. Okay, I got the area of the state correct. And I'm not dig, and that's not a dig at all. To be presented by Paul Dye out of Madison County. Okay, whereas the Idaho Republican Party recognizes that the... You should probably say that in the past tense, otherwise it should go in a resolved clause. But whereas the Idaho Republican Party recognizes... anyway, that the rise of in the criminalization and lack of regulation of marijuana and its derivatives has significantly boosted THC potency. Not wrong. Which is known in some cases to trigger psychosis, schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression. THC affects memory. Blah 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 blah. Blah. Okay, a bunch of stuff that I agree with. To be quite honest with you. Whereas numerous studies conclude that marijuana's increased accessibility and strength pose serious risks to mental health and public safety. Okay, this is all supposed to be one mangled sentence instead of multiple sentences in a whereas clause. We urge policymakers to provide evidence-based regulations to protect me from these harmful effects. You're not wrong. However, a lot of these things could be said of alcohol, and thinking of it in this way is often causing more harm than good. And anyway, it's the wrong question for me, to be quite honest with you. I'm not going to be drinking. I'm not going to be smoking anything. I'm not going to be, I'm not even going to be having coffee. So this is the wrong line of questioning for me, to be quite honest with you. But you're not wrong when saying that marijuana is a bad thing on the whole. Whereas President Donald J. Trump has consistently demonstrated a resolute commitment to promoting individual accomplishment and personal responsibility, and inspiring men to overcome change. Okay, well, yeah, Trump did take that position. Whereas steadfast leadership is crucial to empowering youth and oh no. Is this another AI resolution? I'm really hoping not. Whereas the normalization and spread of marijuana undermines these values. Oh, okay, that's where you were going with that. Whereas effective law enforcement, robust public awareness campaign, and dedicated prevention initiatives to discourage. Okay. Community involvement. We commend. Okay. Again, this is another one of the things that should be as a resolved clause, not as a whereas clause. Whatever. Okay, I'm just going to move on. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Idaho Republic calls upon President Trump to stand firm in his commitment to individual achievement. I'm just going to say passive agree on this one. I don't want to get into all of that, so passive agree. Although it's the wrong question for somebody like me, but okay. I think 6 dead. Sorry, my keyboard was acting a fool. So, okay. 55, 53 in the video. Let's see, 2026-08. What is it? 2026-08. Extend starter home rights to county residents. Okay, submitted by John Slagaboom, Latah County, to be presented by him. Whereas the Idaho legislature passed and Governor Little signed Senate Bill 1352, Starter Home Subdivisions Act, and SB 1354, accessory dwelling units during the 2026 session to protect property owners' rights to build affordable single-family homes on their own land. And, okay, yeah, I think I remember that whole thing. Whereas SB 1352 and SB 1354 apply only to Idaho cities with populations over 10,000. Okay, I didn't know that. Leaving residents of unincorporated counties with no protection of their right to build. Okay. Where are you going with this? Whereas county zoning ordinances in parts of Idaho restrict residential construction to one dwelling per 40 acres or more, preventing property owners from building homes for their own families on land they already own. Okay. Whereas the Idaho Office of Performance Evaluations has been commissioned to study the effects of residential development on farmland and infrastructure, signaling legislative interest in extending housing reforms to counties. I thought that was more to study, like, what are we doing to our farmland, rather than let's see what happens when we build houses, because the two options are distinct. Anyway, whereas the Idaho Republican Party adopted resolution that affirming the need for property tax reform and restricting. Okay. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party platform affirms the right of citizens to own and use property without government interference. Not wrong. That now therefore be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party urges the Idaho legislature to extend the property rights of all that to residents of unincorporated counties so that rural Idahoans may have the same right to build, etc. There, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party opposes county zoning ordinances that prevent property owners from building residential dwellings on their own land where adequate infrastructure exists. Okay, you're not wrong. Copies of this resolution to be sent to all those people. Okay. Okay. Passive agree. So 26-09 is the next one. And we're 5921. 21. What's the next one? Traditional Family Values Month. Okay. Submitted by Randy Reekin, LD12, to be presented by him. Whereas children benefit from traditional family, and including natural female mother and male father. Okay. Okay, nuclear family stuff. Okay. We designate Mother's Day through Father's Day as tradition. Oh. So they're not quite getting ready, trying to overstep Pride Month. I was kind of hoping that they would, though. Therefore, so okay, I like this. We designate Mother's Day through Father's Day as traditional family values month. All right, all right, all right, all right. Be it further resolved that the week of traditional family values month honors motherhood. Be it further resolved that the second week celebrates sons. Third week, oh, okay, so you're even putting further meanings into the parts of the month. Fourth week celebrates daughters, sisters, and aunts. Okay. All right. Okay. Be it further resolved that the physical. Okay, what are you actually doing with this part though? The health benefits for children raised in traditional families are acknowledged. Okay, what actual action are you going for right here? Anyway, I really think that this person could have used some tutoring with this one, but anyway, be it further resolved, the positive outcomes for children involved are recognized. Okay, that's something that should be more in a platform kind of thing. But anyway, be it further resolved that the development of character, morality, virtual, spiritual, foster is recognized. Community schools and other in traditional family values month. Okay, agree. Sure, let's do it. Agree. Sure. Let's do it. Okay, that's what it says. 2026-09, starting at 5921 in the video says, agree, sure, let's do it. Okay, so next one is 2026-10, and we're at 10152 in the video. 10152. So it's the next one, the screwworm thing, right? Resolution 2026-10, resolution regarding the threat of New World screwworm. Bruce Lurcher. Oh, of that infamy. Okay, well, sometimes we come together on stuff as Republicans, so I'll hear him out. To be presented by him, resolution calling for our reps to inform themselves about the threat of. Okay. Whereas NWS is within. Oh, they're abbreviating New World. Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, that took me a moment. Maybe they should have more explicitly stated that. Is within 100 miles of the U.S. border, and the New World screwworm can have a massive impact on. Whereas, of January 2026, there are 1190 cases and 7 deaths of that infections. Okay, not wrong about this. Whereas there are some effective drugs such as ivermectin. But the only way to truly eliminate the threat is through sterile fly-producing facilities. Oh, that's right. That's right. My brother Andy was actually talking about this, a bit about that, about what that actually is. Maybe Bruce will actually say something about that in his presentation. Who knows? Whereas the cattle herd in Idaho, which consists of about 2.5 million animals, contributes $2.9 billion in Idaho economy, and the screwworm would have a massive impact on Idaho families' food supplies. Okay, yeah, stuff's about to go up a lot if we don't do something about it soon. And there's already, beef is already going up for other reasons. So, whereas the screwworm has at least one confirmed case in Texas. Okay. Therefore, be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party calls upon our congressmen to familiarize themselves with the issue and support measures to combat this threat to our food security at the U.S. border, specifically creation of sterile fly production facilities. That's right. Okay, yeah, there used to be a lot more of those facilities, and then the story goes is that we mostly eradicated it in the United States and a few other places. So we scaled back sterile fly production because we barely needed it anymore. So it's only available in a limited capacity. It's generally meant for like other places in the world. Well, now we kind of need it again, and so it's like that. Be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party calls upon all legislators to take such. Okay, that's kind of the same thing that with that, but whatever. Okay, so agree. The screwworm is a threat. I'm trying to be generous. I'm trying to work with other people. So the reaction to 2026-10 is agree. The screwworm is a threat. All right. So 2026-11. 11 is 105.33 in the video. All right. 2026-11. A resolution supporting Israel's right to exist and condemning Hamas. Oh, it's Nina Beasley that came up with this one. Okay. She's good people. She got involved though with a lot of drama going up with in Kootenai County, and that did not resolve completely well. I'll just put it that way. I have a lot of friends up there, and things happened. A lot of outside resources came in to have that result. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, Nina Beasley, Kootenai County, to be presented by her. Whereas on October 7th, we're going straight to that. Okay. Whereas on October 7th, 2023, the designated foreign terrorist organization Hamas launched an unprovoked attack on Israel, including all of that. It's really sad, heartbreaking numbers. Whereas since October 8, 1997, Hamas has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization within all of that. Okay. Whereas a foundational belief of Hamas is the destruction of the state of Israel and the murder of Jews, and its endeavor to fulfill that mission, Hamas has for decades waged war against Israel, which manifested most recently in the aforementioned October 7th invasion, which resulted in the highest number of Jews to ever be killed in a single day since the Holocaust. Not wrong there. Whereas in addition to mass murder of Jews, Hamas terrorists kidnapped children, women, elderly. A lot of these really sad, horrible details. Savagery of a helpless woman to terrorize civilians. This is getting heavy. Whereas, according to the U.S. State Department, 46 U.S. citizens among those were killed on October 7th, and 12 U.S. citizens were taken hostage. Whereas the United States and Israel have maintained a strong relationship since 1948. I need to drink something. Hold on, this is getting dark. Ex-Vempation rose sharply across the United States after that attack. An appalling number of politicians, media figures, and activists have issued pro-Hamas statements adopting the language and logic of critical race theory and praising attacks as a demonstration of decolonization and anti-discrimination in action, and have popularized the phrase globalize the intifada. This is all a thing. And the urge to support is spread. Yeah, this is definitely spreading to the U.S. There have been some incidents. Whereas President Donald J. Trump has performed admirably in supporting our ally Israel against terrorist organizations like Hamas and strengthening the American. Okay, a bunch of choir preaching, I have to say. Therefore, be it resolved that on the upcoming 3-year anniversary of Hamas's brutal attack on October 7th, the Kootenai County and the Idaho Republican Party prays for peace. Okay, you might need to strike some of this language in there in committee, but that shouldn't be a problem, though. Prays for peace in Israel and the Middle East and condemns all enemies of Israel's and those dedicated. Okay, see, now that you said that specifically, Some people are going to start acting a fool in committee. I'll just put it that way. Like, we're not Israel, we're America. Whatever. Therefore, be resolved that Idaho Republican Party commend Trump for his long-term support of Israel and diligent work through the Abraham Accords, Operation Midnight Hammer. Oh, okay, we're going there. And other measures to bring peace in the Middle East. Therefore, the Board Commission has given observe a moment of silence for these victims, including Americans killed in October 7. Therefore, copies of the resolution sent by the Idaho Republican Party to President Trump, Governor Brad Little, U.S. senators, and blah 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 blah. Well, I don't mean to say blah 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 as a means of disrespect here, but it's just a lot of choir preaching. I'll just put it that way. So, hard agree on that. So, 2026 dash. Okay, so next one's 12. We are at 111.05 in the video. All right, which one is this? Resolution 2026-12. Resolution opposing the so-called Reproductive Freedom and Privacy Act initiative. Submitted by Karen Siebold, Lemhi County, presented by her or Vicky Moldock from Teton. Oh, so you're reaching across the state for that. Good. Okay. Whereas the proposed ballot initiative seeks to enshrine a right to abortion up to the point of fetal viability. Yeah, that's true. Some people are trying to tear down the only people really doing anything about that right now and trying to say that, oh, they're not doing anything. Like, well, no, they're the only people that are doing anything. Anyway. Whereas viability is generally recognized as a lot of stuff we've all been arguing about before. Whereas advances in neonatal medicine have demonstrated premature infants born well before 24 weeks capable of surviving outside the womb with appropriate care. Well, that's true. It doesn't happen in every case like that, but they can survive. They have a better chance these days. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party okay, you should put it like the Idaho Republican Party has affirmed the sanctity of human life instead of the way it's put here. But because this is in a whereas statement, this is not in a whereas clause, in a resolved clause rather, and it imposes any legal framework that permits the termination of a viable or potentially viable unborn child. Right? Okay, this sounds very Republican stuff so far. Whereas the proposed ballot initiative employs a broad and undefined term of reproductive rights without adequate limitation or definition. Yeah. Whereas reproductive rights, as interpreted by courts and advocacy organizations in other jurisdictions, has been construed to encompass not only abortion but also gender-affirming surgical procedures, including cross-sex hormone therapies, puberty. Okay, so we're going the child mutilation route with that as well. Okay. Whereas the absence of explicit exclusionary language in proposed initiative creates a legal pathway by which reproductive rights. Oh, okay. So you're not only bringing up the abortion issue, but you're also bringing up a very separate issue, but highlighting the danger we are of getting there through through the abortion issue. Okay. Well, whereas the Idaho Republican Party firmly opposes the performance of irreversible gender reassignment procedures in minors, and okay, since that's already in our platform, that's okay. But you should be able to mode to say has firmly opposed if you're talking about just some past resolution or something. Otherwise, it should be as a resolved thing anyway. whereas under Article 3, Section 1 of the Idaho Constitution, people reserve themselves the power of the initial. Okay, oh, you're going back to building the beginning of a case now. Weird. Voter approved ballot initiatives, once inactive, carry the force of statutory law and may be amended or repealed by the Idaho legislature, provided that such legislation actually meets the applicable supermajority threshold or the waiting period as defined in law. Okay. Whereas proponents of the proposed ballot initiative seek to insulate their policy preferences from the ordinary processes of the representative government by embedding them within the state constitution or by exploiting procedural protections. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now you've hit the subject of one of my resolutions, whereas they're trying to do an end run around what is supposed to happen with legislation. Okay. I'm very hard agree here. Whereas the Idaho Republican Party believes that the legislature, as the elected representatives of Idaho, must retain the authority to revisit, amend, or okay, you're going back to building a case now instead of getting somewhere. Okay, a lot of this could be condensed, I have to say. Whereas the foregoing concerns constitute substantive grounds upon which the Idaho Republican Party opposes reproductive. Okay, the Idaho Republican Party believes that the passage of such an initiative would fundamentally alter the legal landscape of the state of Idaho in a manner contrary to the deeply held values of its citizens. Okay, well, right. I'm just going to move on. I'm getting kind of tired. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party formally opposes the proposed reproductive rights ballot initiative in its entirety, and be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party opposes the proposed ballot initiative on the grounds that its adoption of a 24-week viability standard effectively authorizes abortion on demand through the second trimester, a position incompatible with the values of the people of Idaho, and etc., etc. Choir preaching, as it were. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party opposes the proposed ballot initiative for all of that reason, and therefore be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party affirms the authority of the Idaho legislature to amend or repeal voter-approved ballot initiatives through the lawful exercise of its legislative power, and calls upon its elected representative to exercise such authority should the proposed reproductive rights ballot be approved by the voters. Okay, so if it makes it through, quash it the other way. That's what it wants. Okay. Therefore, be it further resolved that the Idaho Republican Party calls upon all legislators to actively campaign against this, and all copies be sent to these people. Okay, cool. So, hard agree. And I'm moving on. So 2026-13. We are 1:18:14 in the video now. 14. And what is -13? What is it? A resolution in support of Idaho Senate Concurrent Resolution 120. Okay, so this is the thing I couldn't remember what it was even about. Mike Colson, Bonneville County, to be presented by him. The Idaho Republican Party is committed to advancing policies that promote energy security, national defense, technological innovation, economic growth, and responsible stewardship of our resources. Okay? Whereas Senate Concurrent Resolution 120 affirms the importance of advancing nuclear energy research. Oh, this is the whole nuke thing. Okay. And fuel cycle innovation, consistent yada, etc., etc., etc. Whereas SCR 120, I need to go to bed, to be quite honest with you. Like, I'm seriously thinking about just splitting this up and then getting up early in the morning to do more of this. Whereas SCR 120 further requests the government and to negotiate federal commitments of significant compensation Okay. Whereas we love our INL. We love our INL. Some to INL, and it plays a vital role in nuclear research, national security, and advancement. Okay. Whereas strengthening the federal partnership and investment in Idaho's nuclear research infrastructure supports high-skilled jobs, strengthens all of that, reinforces Idaho's position as a national leader, and all that stuff. Therefore, be it resolved that the Idaho Republican Party formally expresses its strong support of that bill. Again, that encourages, rather, that resolution. Whereas the committee encourages that. Therefore, the committee supports continued collaboration for those reasons. Okay, I'll say agree. 2026-14, which one's that? And we are 120.51 in the video. Resolution 2026-14, resolution regarding local control and placement of wireless facilities. Where by Grace Bauer of Bonner County, to be presented by her. Whereas in 2025, the Idaho legislature passed House Bill 180, redefining small wireless facilities as utilities to be placed on utility poles in municipal rights of way, and that part of the bill says, except as provided in yada yada. Subsection, okay, you know what, all this is starting to get really dense. Let's get to, I'm just skipping to the resolved stuff, or at least something that looks. Whereas therefore be resolved that the State Central Committee, well, it's the convention this time, so we'll need a takes a stand against FCC rule, yada yada, removing local control of the placement. Okay, yeah, this is the 5G stuff. Okay, so not taking a position. Okay, so my reaction to this one is not taking a position. I want to hear the presentation because it might be totally legit, it might be totally cool. It also might go off the rails. So, moving on. So, 2026-15. This is probably going to be my last for the video. 2026-15 resolution requiring voter approval for the conveyance or transfer of public assets valued at 10, or rather 100K or greater, submitted by Glenn Rimby of Canyon County, to be presented by him. Whereas citizens at all times via their representative give authority to their local government to buy or build assets and develop property that strengthens the social, cultural, or economic life of the community. Whereas said governments have a responsibility to maintain said assets so that they may continue to serve the public interest and provide a return on investment, and blah, 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 blah. Whereas property with an assessed value of that 100K or greater represents a significant investment in taxpayer dollars. Local should consult the sectors that have directly paid. Okay, before deciding to dispose of it. Okay, therefore be it resolved that the Idaho Republican calls upon the state legislature to amend Idaho Code in all of those places. Maybe you should be a little bit more specific on, because these are whole swaths of code, Title 31 to Title 33, 39. Maybe you need to be a little bit more specific there. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll hear you out in committee. Requiring all local taxing districts to wish to convey or transfer public asset over 100K in value to place it on the ballot. Okay, you want to put it on the ballot. All right. with a simple majority in favor. Okay. Therefore, that be it resolved that before any ballot and measure, the public entity seeking to convey or transfer. Okay, I'll just say passive agree on this. It was like a couple minutes ago I started, so roughly 122 and passive agree. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna stop recording and get this online, and then I'll see if I have any energy left. I might not. Anyway, and I'll see you in the next video.